What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today is September the 10th. I want to give you a quick pre-market update over some of the hot movers and what big money is focusing on today. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with data points, big one for today is going to be PPI. That's coming out at 7:30, so bright and early in roughly 1 hour's time frame. Month over month, current forecast is 0.4, year over year is 3.4. So this one potentially could be a market mover, no different than CPI and Michigan consumer sentiment. So one thing to take note of though is that the last couple of trading days and even last week we've had somewhat negative data and the market hasn't overly cared. It did cause some volatility, but it seems as though right now is a buy the dip type of market, which so far has been working very favorably to anyone who's actually done that. So once again, if this does cause a dip, I do feel that there's going to be a lot of willing buyers. As far as today though, so Dow is down 0.13, S&P up 0.34, NASDAQ up 0.3. So today is shaping to be a pretty good day. Of course, I think PPI could change that as well. But yeah, things seem to be looking pretty a-okay. One thing I do want to bring up though is like I feel like a lot of people aren't really talking about this as much as they should be, but short selling. And so Robinhood just had their big event yesterday and they did mention that they are going to allow retail to short. So I feel like this is going to cause a hell of a lot of volatility and most likely will start to cause a actual divide, because I don't know if you can tell or not, retail are very emotional and sometimes they don't want to admit defeat. So I feel like in the foreseeable future, there's going to be more of a long versus short mentality. You're going to have retail against retail, which is going to be interesting, but nonetheless, it's going to cause a lot of volatility. And most likely, a lot of people at the same time are going to lose a lot of money shorting because, like, yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, interesting thing. I wanted to just kind of bring this up. Aside from that, SoFi is pretty flat for the most part. Nothing really crazy. 9.08% of the free float's being shorted. Works out to be 106 million shares overall are being shorted right now during the pre-market with a 25.96. No different than what I mentioned yesterday. Just watch for this R1. So today is going to be another battle. And for the last day and a half, it's been around this 25.96. So best case scenario, it does close above that, which it did close 1 cent above it yesterday. Nothing really crazy to write home about, but next kind of point to watch for, 26.50, flip side 25.10 is going to be the next strong support. Moving on, GameStop. So they had their earnings, finally showing some signs that it wants to break out, and it's kind of doing that, currently up 10.5%. Regarding shorts oddly have been returning, so I don't know if they did kind of anticipate this, but they went from around 18% short interest to where it is now. So 16.41% of the free float is being shorted. DTC is 5.57 days. So it does signal that shorts are very, very overextended with this. So that does factor in the average volume for GameStop in comparison to the 66.9 million shares overall are being shorted. So definitely things could get very real for that. With it at $26, it's currently between this pivot and this S1. So it is above all the key points that I generally like to look at. Looking at the 1 day, it's even on the classic 25.09. That's going to be a strong support that you really want to watch for that to hold. Aside from that, it's just breaking out, which is kind of a good problem to kind of have. Aside from that, NIO is moving lower, and I'm sure just even yesterday the sentiment is kind of back and forth. You're starting to see some negativity, and so it is down 8.6% because of this. So they are proposing a equity offering of, looks like 181.8 million new shares, with the caveat that you can add another 27 million. So not necessarily the best, of course. Shorts are already increasing 1.9 million shares during the pre-market. 11.5% of the free float's being shorted. Works out to be 177 million shares. So shorts will be fairly active today. Right now with it at 575, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. And so even leading into this, NIO did have a gap that needed to be filled, which was roughly around that 560. So most likely that is going to get filled, and potentially from there, it might move higher a little bit. But right now, 586, that's going to be that key point to really watch for today. Best case scenario, it closes above that. If not, then you might be seeing some further consolidation. Just moving over to the 4 hour though, just for those day traders and swing traders, with it again at 575, it is right above this S2. So 572 and then 545 is going to be support levels, 589 and then 617 is going to be kind of good targets. I don't really see that 617 being on the table today whatsoever, but at least 589 potentially. So again, for those day traders, just kind of watch for that. ORCL. So even though they kind of missed on their top and bottom line, they did have some pretty good comments, and so this is kind of the final takeaway from their earnings. So good growth and everything, and yeah, the market loves it. So I think this is pretty much the first time the market actually sees their earnings as a overwhelming positive, despite again they kind of missing on some of their key metrics. But yeah, it's up 31% or whatever else. So kind of a different stock. And it kind of reminds me back in like, what was it, June, right over here when I went to 215, I did sell some actual naked calls on it. They got exercised, so I was actually shorting it from here to here. And so I didn't catch the bottom. I closed it, I think, at 207, but that was imagine holding that. I would have been losing my ass on that. But nonetheless, shorts are increasing roughly about 60,000 shares so far, and so 1.36% of the free float's being shorted. So shorts aren't that big of a deal, of course, but they have been increasing from about 0.95 to where it is now. So for a large cap stock, that is kind of significant. 22.28% of the free float's being shorted right now with a 318. No different. It's above all the massive levels on the fib levels. Looking at the classic, 348 is going to be potentially the next swing trade. Doesn't mean it'll be hit today, but most likely if it does continue this good momentum, market doesn't implode on itself, that might be the next point to watch for. And then 252. So it is what it is. That's just a lot of stocks breaking out. And then speaking of breaking out, you have this one going up 387%. I scoured like crazy looking for news, and there has been absolutely nothing. So why this is up and why a lot of stocks run up like thousands of percent yesterday and over the last couple of trading days, anyone's guess. But yeah, this one is up 340%. Regarding shorts, 5.92% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 49,000 shares. So DTC 0.2, so I don't think shorts are that overextended, and 5.9% isn't crazy. Yeah, they have been returning, so it went from about 13% short interest to where it is now. So maybe they did anticipate somehow this breakout, but it is down about over the last 1 year, 94.89%. And it is above all the key fib levels, no different than anything else. So for those of you that are experienced day traders, of course, in these types of videos, I just go over the basic kind of support and resistance, but if you actually do incorporate the chart, this one you could potentially make some pretty good money if you actually time it right, looking at the 1 minute and kind of looking at the 10-day moving average for the most part, a couple of the indicators. You could make some good money swing trading this, but definitely I'd leave it to the more experienced ones. A lot of these stocks are actually breaking out, so it's might not be the best, but if you owned it prior to that, like ORCL for instance, you're laughing. So let me know your thoughts on these stocks. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. What stocks are on your watch list and that you potentially might be buying? So throw some tickers in the description below. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon. I give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point, worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.